Listen to Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, Level A1, Oxford Reading University. Part 1.
Jane Eyre was only 10 when her parents died. She moved to the house of her aunt, Mrs. Reed. It was a big and beautiful house, but Jane never was happy there. The aunt and her cousins were unkind to Jane. One afternoon, Jane was in a small, quiet room. She liked it a lot because she could be alone there. She took a book from the shelf and started looking at the beautiful pictures in it. Suddenly, the door opened, and her cousin John came in. "Jane Eyre!" he shouted. "Who let you take our books? Mother says that you are not a gentleman's daughter. You shouldn't live with us, or eat the same meals we do, or wear the same clothes. I will teach you a lesson." Then he took the book from her and hit her on the head with it. Jane felt blood running down her neck and cried, "You are an awful boy!" They started fighting. Soon, Aunt Reed and a servant ran into the room. The lady pulled Jane away from her son. "What a terrible girl!" she cried. Then she turned to the servant. "Take her to the red room and lock her there," she ordered. The red room was cold and dark. Jane was very scared. She sat at the door and cried, "Let me out! Don't leave me here!" Then it got dark outside, and everything around Jane went black. The girl got even more scared. She let out a cry and fell on the floor. She woke up in her room the next morning. A doctor was sitting by her bed. "I talked to the servants, Jane," he said softly. "Yesterday you fell and hurt your head. That's why you're ill." Jane started crying again. She wanted to tell the doctor about her life in Aunt Reed's house. "Yesterday I was hit on the head," she cried. "And then they put me in that cold, dark room." The doctor gave her a serious look. "Are you not happy here, Jane?" he asked. "Do you want to leave this house?" "Yes," Jane replied. The doctor went to talk to Aunt Reed. Soon, the lady came to see the girl. "I have decided to send you to school, Jane," she said. Jane looked at her in surprise. Then she thought, "Maybe my life will get better there. I can even make friends at school." 2 weeks later, Jane was sent to Lowood School. At first, Jane was having a very difficult time at Lowood.
Do you want more English audiobooks with translations and transcriptions? In the Eyre app, you can check the translation of new words, add them to your list, and practice them later by playing word games. See for yourself at appeyre.com.
She arrived there in winter, and the building was very cold. The food was poor. The teachers were very strict. Only Miss Temple, the school principal, seemed nice. She always spoke kindly to the girls and was ready to help them. One day, the girls went to walk in the garden. Jane wanted to talk to someone, but all the girls seemed very unfriendly. Then she noticed a girl sitting aside and reading a book. Jane came up to her. "Is your book interesting?" she asked. The girl raised her eyes and smiled at Jane. "Yes, I like it very much," she replied. They started talking. The girl's name was Helen Burns. She was several years older than Jane. "The school doesn't belong to Miss Temple, although she is the head teacher," Helen explained. "The owner is Mr. Brocklehurst. He buys clothes and food for us and pays for our education." Jane soon learned that Mr. Brocklehurst didn't give enough money to support the school. The clothes for the girls were old and not warm enough for the winter. Moreover, there was never enough food in the kitchen. Many girls were ill and weak. The spring brought typhoid to Lowood. More than half of the girls were sick. Many of them died. Helen also got sick. Jane went to visit her friend. When she saw her thin, pale face, she started crying. "Jane, I am so happy to see you," Helen said quietly. "Come, sit by my bed. It is good that I can say goodbye before I go." "Are you going home, Helen?" Jane asked. "Yes," the girl said after a while. "I am going far away, to my last home." Jane took her hand and cried, "No, Helen!" "You will get cold, Jane," the girl said. "Lie down next to me and cover yourself with my blanket." Jane climbed into her friend's bed. Helen put her arm around Jane and they fell asleep. When Jane woke up in the morning, the nurse was carrying her to her bedroom. That morning, Helen Burns died. Jane studied at Lowood for 8 years. Then she started working there as a teacher. She liked Miss Temple very much. They were good friends. However, Miss Temple got married and left the school. After that, nothing kept Jane at the school anymore. She started looking for a job as a governess. Soon, she received an invitation from a lady named Mrs. Fairfax. Mrs. Fairfax worked as a housekeeper at a place called Thornfield Hall. Jane went there at once. The house was large and beautiful. The master of the house, Mr. Rochester, was away. Jane learned from the servants that he rarely visited Thornfield Hall. Jane's student was a 9-year-old girl named Adele. Mrs. Fairfax told Jane about the girl's past. "Her mother died many years ago," the lady explained. After that, Mr. Rochester decided to take her into his care. One day, Jane went to the post office. It was winter, and the weather was very cold. The road was frozen. Jane saw a man on a horse riding towards her. Suddenly, the horse slipped and fell to the ground. The rider fell too. Jane ran up to him. "Sir, are you hurt? Do you need help?" she asked worriedly. She helped him get back on his horse. The man rode away without thanking her. "What a strange gentleman," she thought. "He is not at all polite and not very handsome, but something about him is very interesting." When Jane returned to Thornfield Hall, she saw that everyone was very busy. "What's happening?" she asked Mrs. Fairfax. "Mr. Rochester has returned," the lady replied. "Go get dressed. He wants to see you and Adele." In the evening, Jane went to the drawing room to meet Mr. Rochester. When she saw him, she was very surprised. "He is the man who fell off his horse this morning," she realized. Mr. Rochester stayed at Thornfield for some time. He wasn't very friendly to Jane. He rarely smiled or talked to anyone. However, Jane found him interesting. Over time, Mr. Rochester became kinder. He enjoyed spending time with Jane. One day, he told Jane the story of Adele. "I was in love with her mother," he said, "but she cheated on me with another man. She made me believe that Adele was my daughter, but it was a lie. Then she died, and I felt sorry for the poor girl. I decided to take care of her." After this conversation, Jane couldn't sleep for a long time. In the middle of the night, she heard a strange laughter outside her room and went out into the hallway. She saw clouds of smoke coming from Mr. Rochester's room. Jane ran there and saw that his bed was on fire. She took a jug of water from the nightstand and put the fire out. Then Mr. Rochester woke up. "Jane, is that you? What are you doing here?" he asked. Jane explained what happened, and they left the room together. Mr. Rochester went to check something in the attic. Soon he came back. "You saved my life," he told her. "You don't need to worry about anything now, Jane. Go back to bed." Next day, Jane talked to Mrs. Fairfax. "Does anybody live in the attic?" she asked. "Yes," the lady replied. "A servant named Grace Poole, but she is a little strange." Perhaps she set Mr. Rochester's bed on fire, Jane realized. Soon Mr. Rochester left Thornfield Hall. Jane felt very sad and lonely without him. 2 weeks later, he came back with a group of friends. One of them, Miss Blanche Ingram, was a beautiful but very proud young lady. Mr. Rochester spent a lot of time with her, and they often went horse riding together. It made Jane very upset. "Forget about him, Jane Eyre," she told herself. "You are not as beautiful and rich as Miss Blanche. He will never look at you." One late night, a terrible scream came from the attic. The guests heard it and ran into the hallway. They were very scared. "Please don't worry," Mr. Rochester said. "It's just one of the servants. She is usually very nervous, that's all. Go back to bed." Jane saw that he was worried. She was about to return to her bedroom too, but Mr. Rochester took her by the arm. "Please, Jane, come with me to the attic," he said. They went upstairs and stopped at a closed door. Together, they entered the room. One of Mr. Rochester's friends, Mr. Mason, was lying on a bed. His eyes were closed, and there was blood on his shirt. "Is he dead?" Jane cried. "No," Mr. Rochester replied. "He has been attacked with a knife, but he will be fine." Soon, Mr. Rochester brought a doctor for his guest. Together, they decided that Mr. Mason should leave Thornfield at once. They helped him get down the stairs and out of the house. But before he got into the carriage, he turned to Mr. Rochester and said, "Promise me that you will look after her, Rochester." Mr. Rochester looked at him sadly. "Yes, I will always look after her," he replied. Then Mr. Mason finally left, and Mr. Rochester seemed relieved. Soon Jane received a letter. It said that her aunt was dying. She went to see her at once. She arrived at Mrs. Reed's house and found her very ill. The old lady gave her a letter from John Eyre, Jane's uncle. "I am looking for my niece, Jane Eyre. I am now a rich man, but I have no family. I want her to live with me," the letter said. "But this letter was sent years ago," Jane cried. "Mrs. Reed, why didn't you show it to me earlier?" "I always hated you," the lady said. "I didn't want you to get your uncle's money. I wrote to him that you were dead. Now go away and don't come back." Soon after that, Mrs. Reed died. Jane was happy to leave her house forever. She went back to Thornfield. On her way there, she ran into Mr. Rochester. He seemed very happy to see her. They went for a walk together. "Adele is going to school soon," he suddenly said, "and I am going to get married." Jane looked at him in surprise. "Then I must leave Thornfield, sir," she finally said. "I will always remember you, Jane," Mr. Rochester said. "Will you forget me?" "No, I will never forget you," Jane exclaimed. Then she started crying. "I don't want to leave Thornfield, but if you are marrying Miss Blanche—" "Then don't leave, Jane," he said, and looked her in the eye. "Do you think I have no feelings, sir?" Jane cried. "I can't stay." "No, I am not marrying Miss Blanche," Mr. Rochester said. "I am marrying you." Jane stood still and looked at him in surprise. Then she asked quietly, "Do you love me, sir?" "Yes, I do," he replied with a smile. "Then I will marry you," Jane said, and he kissed her. They decided to get married in a month. Jane was very happy. The night before the wedding, Jane woke up because of some noise. She saw a strange woman in her room. Her face was thin and pale, and her eyes were red. Jane got scared. The woman walked across the room and stopped at Jane's wedding dress. She tried on the veil, then she tore it in half and threw it on the floor. In the morning, everyone went to the local church for the wedding. Suddenly, a man threw open the door and ran into the hall. It was Mr. Mason. "Stop the wedding!" he cried. "Rochester can't marry this woman. He is already married to my sister."
Part 2 is coming soon.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more free audiobooks. And now, listen to another English story.